where I felt a lot of peace thinking about becoming a missionary. I felt a lot of peace applying to be a missionary. I know this is shocking. Felt a lot of peace, going on an interview weekend, getting the offer. I just chased the peace, and now here I am living in Madison, Wisconsin.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Vox Pauli podcast. Today we have a spitball, a fireball coming at you. Get ready to rock and roll. We have Justine Hinkley?
Yes, good
job. There we go. Got
that
last name. That was out of the recesses. Pulled that out of the vault. Mm-hmm. But we have Justine Hinkley on the program today. She is a FOCUS missionary. She hails from the great state of Indiana, formerly a basketball state, now a football state.
Not where I'm from, though.
Not where you're from. But anyways, Justine, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I don't think you realize the dreams that you're fulfilling right now. We talked about this before. I've always wanted to be on a podcast.
We did. I think once Justine got on campus, those were a couple of the first words that came out of your mouth. And some interesting conversations on the balcony we had at staff training.
Yeah, never. I don't know what you're talking about.
But right away when I met you, I knew this is when we got to get on here, because you are an entertaining little spitball of energy that we have around our Newman Center now, which is awesome.
Thank you. I'm honored to be here.
What's it been like the first couple months here in Madison? We're rounding out first semester. We're here in the great season of Advent. What's it been like this first semester at UW-Madison?
Oh, it has been awesome. I love it here. I feel like I always tell people if I could have chosen where I was sent, I would have picked somewhere like Madison. I'm happy to stay in the Big Ten. I feel like I understand just the campus life a lot more of it being a bigger school. And St. Paul's is a lot similar to my Newman Center. I went to Purdue University, so that's why
What's the boiler up or?
Did you just do the cyclone? He's so into focus. It's boiler up, and then you say hammer down. I say boiler up.
Hammer down. There we go.
And keep that in too.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Newman Center here is a lot similar to St. Tom's at Purdue. So it's almost like a little bit of a similarity to that sense of home.
Sure.
Of just the way that it operates here. So yeah, I love it here. The people here are such a gift. They make the life as a missionary, not that it's like the easiest life in the whole world, but they do make my job pretty easy, that there's so many people that are so eager to go on to mission with me. That is really beautiful to see and really like fruitful in what I do as my job.
That's awesome. What about the city of Madison itself? Do you like the layout? Do you like the campus vibe? What have you checked out so far?
I love Madison. It's so beautiful. I remember driving in when I moved here and like just being, I knew that there was lakes here.
Right.
I didn't know that there were a lot in Madison. I was expecting, like, knowing that I was going to be moving to a city, I was expecting like Indianapolis, which is much more city, like tall buildings. You have, the scary alleys, just what you think of when you think of a big city. So I was more expecting that. And then I drove in and there was the two big lakes and there's people paddleboarding on the lake and walking on the path. And it felt so much more suburban than a big city. So I love just the natural beauty of the campus. It's a lot prettier than Purdue. Purdue is a beautiful place because the people make it beautiful.
But even though you have a bunch of engineers there, not the best.
Well, a very efficient campus. Not a lot of beauty, but my longest walk to get to a class was 10 minutes.
Wow. Yeah, here you really, it's like, doing the Camino, sometimes when you go from edge to edge. Yeah. But I always like to say to people that if you're thinking about UW-Madison, I think it's the perfect campus. If you were to design a campus, UW-Madison's pretty as close to it gets. You got the two lakes, you've got the Arboretum, you've got trails all around. I think Madison's getting up there as like the fittest city in America, which, just subtle flex, but there's always things to do. We've got State Street, we've got the gorgeous Capitol, we've got that drive-in when you come on John Knoll and you see right over the lake, you got that beautiful Capitol. And then of course you have the star of the city. You see that steeple up in the sky, St. Paul's.
Well, you sold me.
Right.
I'll stay here, I guess.
There's a self switch. There we go. City of Madison, hire me.
Next job.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways, let's go a little bit into your background. You mentioned you went to Purdue, but tell me a little bit more about what it was like growing up in Indiana.
Yeah, I love Indiana. that is one thing I've learned about Wisconsin is people from Wisconsin, I love Wisconsin and have so much state pride. Not as much in Indiana. Maybe I just haven't interacted with them quite as much. But yeah, I was born and raised in Carmel, Indiana, which is just north of Indianapolis. It's the roundabout capital of the world. So if you ever have any questions on how to drive in a roundabout, let me know.
Tell me a quick tip.
Quick tip, stay in your lane.
Okay.
Especially if it's a 2 or 3 lane roundabout, stay in your lane.
A 3-lane roundabout. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
Seen lots of those. Are roundabouts stacked on top of each other.
Wow.
Use your turn signals, blinkers, and I feel like if there's a car coming and you want to risk it, maybe don't.
Right.
That's what I would say. But
make sure to follow the yield signs.
Yes. You are such a rule follower. Good job, Andrew Hall. But yeah, I love Indiana. I grew up 30 minutes north of Indianapolis. I have 3 siblings. Obviously my mom and my dad. My brother is 13 years older than me, so he was always just older. I didn't really have a relationship with him as much. He obviously was my brother, I grew up with him, but I think we started growing in a friendship together once I got to high school, and he kind of realized that I wasn't just a baby anymore. But I have 3, there's 3 girls, so I have 2 sisters. I have an older sister and a younger sister, so I always say I was raised as a middle child, even though I'm not technically right in the middle. And yeah, they're my best friends. They're just awesome. My older sister is, she's 15 months older than me, so we were raised closely. But my younger sister, everyone always jokes that we're the twins because we're closer in size because she's taller than me. But
yeah, not hard to do.
Okay. And so, they're my best friends. We grew up doing everything together, but I think it was COVID time when we kind of got locked together that we grew in friendship. And they're my closest friends. We're very different, but
amazing.
Awesome.
Amazing. So now obviously you're a FOCUS missionary. So faith plays a big part in your life. Tell me a little bit about your faith story. What it was like growing up, coming to college and beyond.
Oh, wow. Okay, buckle in.
Got the seatbelt on. We're taking the roundabout. Now we go.
Wow, he's so good at listening. I'm born and raised in a Catholic family. My mom and dad did a great job of passing that on to us faith was not an option. It was more of, our lifestyle. Sunday Mass was always a given. Went to Catholic school, K through 8, and then high school as well. But I think for me, which is I think a lot of people that I've talked to have this experience with Catholic school of it's your faith is just another class in school. It's just another grade that's on your report card. I think I especially felt that in K through 8. Where it was just my faith was just the next quiz I was taking rather than something that was more personal.
Yeah.
And it was also just kind of what I had always grown up knowing, so it wasn't really anything I put thought to. Church was just something I went to so I didn't get grounded. My sisters and I would play chopsticks with our fingers during Mass or see how angry we could get my mom without her blowing up at Mass, or take my dad's watch off and see all the ways we could take it apart and put it back together.
Yeah, my brother and I, as we did during the Our Father, see how hard we could squeeze each other's hands. Yeah,
that was my experience, I don't know, going through my faith. And then I think I would say the summer before high school, I went to a wedding, and it was my first wedding ever, but it was a Protestant wedding, and they were super on fire for their faith. And I saw how they I think that was my first time I really saw someone who had a relationship with the Lord. Because I do think Protestants do such a good job of exercising that relationship and being expressive about their faith. And so I remember seeing them entering into worship together, and also just in the way that they loved each other. And I was that is so attractive to me, of just their faith not being something that was just another thing on their task list, but actually a life they lived out. So I remember me and my 13-year-old self was well, I'm going to be Protestant. Not actually, but it was just kind of well, I'm just going to go to the things that I want. Obviously, that wasn't really an option because, my mom had her minivan. I couldn't go anywhere else. I had my bike, but I got lazy.
Right.
But I remember then going into high school, the only way I could keep in contact with my friends from 8th grade who went to different high schools was to go to youth group. And I was well, okay, I can either just like sit and not enjoy going to mass, but like, no, I still am going to have to go, at least until I was confirmed. That was always the rule in our life. Like, up until you're confirmed, you're following what my parents are doing. So I would go to youth group, and then I had the opportunity to go to NCYC, which is the National Catholic Youth Conference, which is similar to SEEK for anyone who's not familiar with it. It's kind of like a SEEK for high schoolers, just a conference for.
I think they just had one last week
in Indianapolis.
And Pope Leo was there.
Yes.
Well, digitally
virtually,
there.
Yeah, that'd be awesome if he was there in person. But so I got to go. I got a last minute spot for it and went, and then that was like the first time I kind of felt that personal relationship with the Lord, especially during adoration there. And I think that was like, I don't know, the peace I felt there hasn't really run out since then. Wow. There's been ebbs and flows, but I feel like that there was like a light that turned on in me of like that feeling I felt there was just like that constant pursuit. I feel like that's when I started running in the race. Like obviously our whole lives are like this race to heaven and like a journey to get to heaven, but that's where I think I started to realize what was actually going on, and just really felt close to the Lord. And so that continued all through high school. I went to NCYC again my junior year of high school. I stayed super involved in my youth group. I led our young women's group called the Sisterhood of Marietta, and got super close with my friends there. I was in Our Lady of Sodality at my high school. It was a Catholic high school, so I was kind of like a sacristan there, just really devoted to, just the Marian protection of the chapel and of the Eucharist.
That's incredible. What did your family think about your just kind of growing conversion while you were in high school? Yeah,
I remember a part of Our Lady of Sodality, we were ministered to by the Dominican Sisters of St. Cecilia, who are based out of Nashville, Tennessee, is where their mother house is. And I got really, really close with their names of Sister Ann Thomas and Sister Jose Maria, also two very influential people in my faith journey. And so they had an opportunity for me to go to Nashville to visit their mother house. They called it the Convent Caravan, and I was like, I would love to go to a convent. I was like, I don't know what that means. And I remember I went, which was a whole story in and of itself. I had so much fun there. They have, a very intentional life there, and they have like designated quiet time after they pray night prayer. And I remember I got into like a debate with someone on the color of the walls, and I'm sitting there like, no, the walls are gray, and they're like, the walls are purple. And I looked at Sister Ann Thomas, and I was like, it's quiet time, isn't it? And she was like, yes, it is.
So I was going to guess quiet time was probably hard for you.
But I remember coming home from that, and my dad picked me up, and this was kind of when like my faith was really picking up. I think that happened my sophomore year, and my dad just turned to me and he was like, are you going to become a sister? Like, I think that, because I don't know, my mom has always been very expressive in her faith, and my mom's also just a very expressive person. My dad is much more reserved. And so I feel like my mom has always been very expressive in her faith, so it wasn't something weird to have that, but I think in terms of one of the kids, I was the first one to kind of have more of an interest in my faith, but I think my parents have always done a really good job of letting us figure it out on our own. And all of my other siblings have had, not that it's the same as an interest, but like my older sister is in med school, and she's always had this like love of medicine and caring for people. And so that was kind of where her energy went. My brother, who's a professional musician.
Wow.
So he's always loved music. Yeah. And that's like where his energy went to. So I think it was almost natural that I was the next in line, and then my love just went to faith. Not that, my older siblings were not able to have that opportunity for faith, but I think that's how my parents and my family viewed it, where it was more so viewing it as just another hobby. Yeah. Whereas for me, it was a lifestyle. Yep.
It was what permeated everything in your life.
Yes. And it was like a driving force, whereas I think my family just viewed it as a hobby, which isn't bad. I just think it's just how they had their perceptions of faith and stuff like that. But I do always think back to my dad kind of side-eyeing me and being like, are you going to become a nun? And me being like, probably not. I was like, they woke me up with a bell at 6 a.m. I don't think I can handle that. I was like, I do not like waking up in the like early in the morning. I do enjoy waking up, but so I think they've been super gracious and like allowing me to, just express my faith and continue to grow, even if there's areas where we've come to disagree, especially as like each of the siblings have grown up. They've done a really good job of respecting that, and I feel like it's taught me a lot of the importance of living out my faith, because that's the thing is we've all gone through Catholic grade school. There's things I can say, but they know the same things I know, and stuff like that, so it's more allowing me to live that out. But that's kind of how I feel. I think my mom likes it a lot because she enjoys being able to have someone to talk faith things with.
Yeah, but it's certainly beautiful when like families, the job is, fostering and educating their children in the faith, but allowing them just the freedom to be able to pursue it, right? I think we encounter so many people here at St. Paul's where, pursuing the faith is a obstacle to their family is an obstacle to them for pursuing the faith or going more than just Sunday Mass, because of the age and the culture that we lived in. It's always been like, well, it's the thing you do on Sundays, and it's like it's a good thing for your life, and I'm glad that you're passionate about it, right?
It's a hobby.
But exactly. But it's not something that, like I said, permeates every single reality of life. In that whatever I do, whether it's medicine or engineering or business or education, whatever profession I'm in, whatever my hobbies and what I spend outside, everything is permeated with that lens and that Christian worldview, which is the crazy thing about faith is like, it's not just another thing that you're interested in, right? It completely changes your perspective on every single thing that you do and that you think about in life.
Yeah, it helps you understand your identity and like who you are rather than what you can do.
Yeah.
Which I think is awesome. And I think that led me into going from high school and staying involved with the sisters there. It was just kind of natural going into college. That was the first thing. My roommate was from one of the youth groups I led. I'd known her since kindergarten, but we had like a middle school drama falling out. 13-year-old girls. Another beast. I was a feisty one. I still am probably, but so we reconnected during that time, and we roomed together, which I think was such a blessing. Having some, like my freshman year roommate being someone who also wanted to get involved in their faith, which I know not everyone has that experience. So I definitely was blessed. By Gretchen is her name, and so we just kind of both went in. And my decision to go to Purdue was actually kind of hectic. I was actually committed to go to another school, a smaller Catholic college in Indianapolis, that I had like a faith-based scholarship for. I was going to, have a minor in pastoral leadership through all of that. And, then I just had a moment where, I don't know, it was almost like I needed the ability to go somewhere where my faith was not a part of the school. I almost needed to have the ability to choose my faith more. And also my best friend was going to Purdue and I didn't want to say goodbye. Which is why
Jesus works through everything.
Yeah, Jesus is so cool. I ended up switching in like March to go to Purdue. And then, roomed with Gretchen and got involved at St. Tom's there pretty early on, got involved in a Bible study there. Made like a good group of friends. I joined my sorority my freshman year. Met a lot of really great people there, stayed super involved. At St. Tom's, I was the treasurer there, which I have no clue. I was in charge of their money, Andrew.
They might be running some deficits over there.
I clocked out.
Oh.
I clocked out. They're probably now. Kidding, joking. They're doing fine. But I, had the opportunity to grow in leadership there and meet so many awesome people. I really grew in Greek ministry there, working with people in fraternity and sorority life, leading Bible studies, leading retreats.
What was it like being in Greek life while also pursuing your faith and being so involved in the Newman Center and Greek life at the same time?
Yeah, it was hard. But I always say, I was just talking to someone earlier today, like you think of Greek life and there's struggles in there. You think of like the struggles that people have specifically with like chastity and sobriety and Greek life as a whole. But I am someone who also thinks those are just struggles on a college campus that are in some cases heightened in Greek life, but are a full college campus issue. But for me, my faith honestly grew a lot in that, but in ways I wouldn't expect. We have the Sisters of St. Francis of Perpetual Adoration here, and I had lunch with them today, and they were talking about living in community with 90 other women, how you don't always love that, like them, but you always love them. And I was like, this sounds pretty familiar. And all Greek life is based on the monastic life.
Really?
The way that, like, the idea for, like, that community was based on the monastic life of, like, living in community with each other, growing. And so obviously it is, divulged to other things. I learned so much to love other people, especially when it was really hard. I learned a lot about what I believed, why I believed it, what things I needed to stay strong in. I was challenged. I failed a whole bunch, but made some awesome friendships. And I think that was kind of what I was saying in terms of wanting to go to college and being tested in my faith in a sense. So, like, I always tell people I never drank in high school. I snuck out and I went to Taco Bell, and I came right back. Like, actually, I don't know why I just didn't go out the front door.
Yeah.
I snuck out a window in my basement to drive to Taco Bell. I think I just wanted to do something. I was never, like, the joke is my little sister went to a party with kids in my grade before I did, and she was a freshman when I was a senior. I was not.
So you weren't crazy in high school,
no,
but then you get to college. It's a little bit different.
Yeah, not bad. But I think that was obviously a struggle of maintaining that, where there was people who had drank for a long time or had a better relationship with it, and then I was like trying, and it was also I think hard because I had my deepening in my faith in high school when like that wasn't on the table, and I just wasn't surrounded with that. I never really had to say no to drinking in high school, so then it was almost hard because it wasn't like I had started drinking, had a reversion, and then go. It was like I had my like reversion, conversion, like my deepening in my faith, and then drinking came along, and I was like, I don't know how to balance this. And so, and I just also wasn't very convicted of it. I definitely struggled. I remember being like at frat parties and having my 3 White Claws, and since I'm 5'0", being like, oh my gosh, I'm wasted, like all of that. But I think I remember that, and then like my family coming the next day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what have I done? And like learning of all of that. And then I remember going home like in September of my freshman year, being like, I can't do this. People are too far gone. I like wanted to drop my sorority. I wanted to not be at Purdue anymore and stuff like that. But I think through that helped me to realize the need for it in my life, and also the need for someone to like go into those, communities and like have like virtue. Because if no one's, who's gonna do it?
Right. It's so interesting that you mentioned about the Greek life having monastic roots, because I know that fraternities and sororities in American college campuses were started by people who were Christians. Like that was their goal, was to spread the faith. I don't think it was particularly Catholic or Catholic focused, but I know it had Christian roots of wanting to spread good virtue and human formation. And we talk about that a lot about St. Paul's, about living with others and the potentials for growing in human formation, right? Anyone can say a rosary every single day. Anyone can get down their knees and pray for 15 minutes or go to daily mass and live this good, upright, Christian moral life here at the Newman Center. But then what are you like, the other 22 hours of the day when you're with your roommates and someone may not be Christian and someone might not do the dishes and someone might be lazy and not take out the trash, or someone comes home and they're in a really bad mood? Like, how are you going to handle those situations? And that's really where the growth in virtue happens, is in those circumstances where you can't control other people, but you can control your own emotions to them. And with that peace and joy that you're cultivating, hopefully in your own inner prayer life, in your interior life, then you can express that to them in those moments and really do apostle and evangelize through that way of just living life with them and being that Christian witness to them day in and day out.
Yeah, no, and it's awesome. I have so many memories of, like painting banners in our basement and then talking about faith. And even with my friends in my sorority that weren't religious or were of other religions, they were awesome of helping me still grow in my faith too. And also like understanding, just my goals in life and my, limits and boundaries and stuff like that. yeah, not to say I was the perfect star child example, but I was really, really blessed with the people I met there, the community I met. Yeah, and some of my closest friends to this day are from my sorority.
Do you think it's important for students or just people in general to kind of get outside of their Catholic bubble and kind of see what they're like in a normal secular environment?
Yeah, I do think that is important because it's the real world.
Right.
You're not just going to be surrounded by all Catholic people. Like, I mean, we pray one day that could happen, but in a realistic tone, that's not what the real world's going to be like. So I do think it's important to kind of come into the Catholic bubble to have those tools strengthened and have that identity really built up. But yeah, Jesus sent his people in the Great Commission, you know, go forth. If we stayed comfortable, there would be no growth in the world.
Right.
So yeah, I do think it's very important to go out and, you know, not just be where you're comfortable.
Yeah.
People who believe the same thing.
So going forth with your faith journey and your testimony, you eventually discerned to become a FOCUS missionary, which is why you are here now. Walk me through that process of discerning to become a FOCUS missionary.
Yeah, so I have a bit of a different story than the rest of the team because Purdue is not a FOCUS campus. So I did not have FOCUS missionaries throughout my time in college. We're gifted by so many other people that help us out. We're served also by the Dominicans there, so they do a lot to help form us. But I was obviously very involved at St. Tom's. It's kind of funny. Everyone's favorite question is like, how did you hear about FOCUS? But FOCUS is pretty big, at least when you're plugged into the Catholic world. So I've always known what FOCUS is. Like I would see their Instagram reels and stuff like that. And I had some family friends who had been missionaries, and I was aware of that being an option. But there was Father Ben, who was one of the priests at Purdue my freshman through junior year, and he was a FOCUS missionary before he entered the Dominicans. And yeah, he made a really big goal for us to do things similarly to FOCUS, and he introduced a discipleship program. It was much different than our discipleship. It was more so kind of learning how to share your testimony and talk about your faith rather than living out the Christian life. But he took us to Seek my freshman year, which was COVID Seek. So we went with some other schools in the Indy area. And that was my first time interacting with missionaries. And I was like, oh my gosh, they're not weird. Because I feel like when I would hear the word missionary, I'd be like weird a little bit. Right. Not that it's weird to be a missionary, but that's just in my mind.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look at yourself, right?
Weird. But
I was going to say cool.
But I think that, yeah, from there, I think I felt a little bit of a tug on my heart at Seek that freshman year of, just wanting to do more. And then, but I was also just a freshman. It was not my time really to think about that. I was more so thinking about passing pre-algebra. But then flash forward to my senior year. Well, a little bit in my junior year when I started the Greek ministry at Purdue. Father Ben got me in contact with the national Greek missionary. Her name was Claire, she's still named Claire. But she is the national Greek missionary, and she kind of coached me through what it would mean to be a Greek missionary, and like really ministered to people in Greek life.
Yeah, what does that mean? Walk us through it.
It's really very similar to what missionaries do. I just have a greater understanding of like really making an effort to go and talk with people in sorority and fraternity life and knowing how to coach them, especially in those areas of sobriety and chastity that can sometimes be a bit of a bigger struggle. And I also just have the knowledge and understanding of sometimes the time constraints that come with being in Greek life. Right. The beauty and the gift that it is to live with 90 other women. It's always fun. Actually, never not fun. Just some of the struggles and stuff like that and ways to coach them through that I think it just comes with that understanding. But
sure.
I met with Claire a little bit, and she helped me. And then, Father Ben, just through his witness and me telling him I felt called to do more with my faith after I graduated, led me to FOCUS. And I also think it not sound silly, but I think it was just kind of, I just followed the peace I felt, where I felt a lot of peace thinking about becoming a missionary. I felt a lot of peace applying to be a missionary. I know this is shocking, felt a lot of peace, going on an interview weekend, getting the offer. I just chased the peace, and now here I am living in Madison, Wisconsin, and
here we are on the Vox Pauli stage.
I know, here I am I actually am only here to be on a podcast. Once I get off of this stage, I'm going back to Indiana. Kidding. But yeah, that's kind of what got me here. There's been, highs and lows of, not being sure that I'm equipped, and it's definitely been hard of coming in and being a missionary when I haven't been formed in the way that I'm forming people, or we have the Blue Book. I'm leading from that, but I've never opened a Blue Book,
sure.
And stuff like that. And yeah, I also just the surrender that comes with being a missionary of going wherever I'm sent. I remember I left for training the day after I graduated. And I remember sitting on the plane to Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm not a big crier, but I remember I had tears going down my face, and there's this 35-year-old man playing Scrabble next to me, and I'm he's probably who is this pipe but nothing girl who's crying with a stuffed animal in her lap? And I'm and also taking a selfie to send to her friends because this is her first time being long distance from that friend that I followed to Purdue. And yeah, I was texting them being what if I hate where I'm sent? What if I don't know what I'm doing? What if I hate it? And yeah, it's just really been profound going from, sitting next to a 35-year-old man playing Scrabble to now sitting next to Andrew Hall, talking about the beauty that it's been living in Wisconsin, because now I know that's where I serve and, have been called to be and everything. But that's kind of what led me to Focus. Just chasing that peace, chasing the opportunity to continue out my faith and interact with the people here. Yeah, and
that's, peace is the language of God. As we talked about in our staff formation today. So every Wednesday we have a staff formation, and our parochial vicar, the lovely Father Enan, walked us through the discernment of spirits this morning. And it comes from chapter 5 of Galatians, when Paul is writing about, what to know is from the devil, what's to know is what from the evil one, and what is the language of God. What does it mean when I'm discerning two good options, right? Maybe do, great professional work, be with your family and pursue that. It's a great option, right? Or, completely abandon yourself and become a FOCUS missionary, and you have no idea where you're going to go. You have no idea the people that God will put in front of you. You have no idea what life is going to look like. You have to fundraise money, all of the things that come with that. But when peace is there, that is from the Lord, and that's Him urging you on and giving you that next step to, abandon yourself, get in the boat, and I'll guide the way, And so we're very thankful for you to be here today. But now that you're a FOCUS missionary here, I want to hear a little bit a day in the life of Justine, and what's it like being a FOCUS missionary here. So walk me through an average day in the life of being a FOCUS missionary on the campus of UW-Madison.
Every day is different. So I, as just a missionary and someone going on mission, but also just a great thing to do just as a lifelong Catholic, we have a commitment to praying a daily holy hour, daily mass, and daily rosary. So my days start at 8 a.m. here in the chapel for morning prayer and holy hour with the students, which is awesome. And such a gift to see how many students come and want to start off their morning, because I know when I was in college, I was not awake at 8 a.m., let alone in a chapel. And so then I go from that. We have morning coffee after, which is I'm normally talking with Chandler behind the desk or whoever else I can find, or now that it's cold, sometimes I'll go and be by the fire, or if I see some new faces, I'll go and talk with them, or all sorts of things to talk about. But after that, I either go to meetings. Normally my morning are more professional, so I have days where I work on my fundraising and continuing those relationships. I have staff formation. I have team meetings, staff meetings, stuff like that. Those are normally more professional. I eat lunch. Sometimes I'll go to noon mass. It just depends on the day. There's either mass midday or at the end of the day. And then, the rest of my day is just meeting with students. I have the honor of meeting with, I have 7 girls in my chain that I walk with one-on-one, which is awesome. So I have discipleship with them, talk through anything and everything. Just ways that I can help support them, give them tools, stuff like that, talk about my story, hear about theirs. Then I also will sometimes have, continued formation that FOCUS gives us, which is awesome. And then I normally am out of here. If I go to 5 p.m. Mass, I'll go to Mass then. Normally I'm out of here by 5 or 6, and then I go back home. I think one thing I've learned when I'm through mission is just how I am very extroverted when I'm around people, but I think I've learned just how introverted I am in terms of I need alone and quiet time to recharge. So then normally when I get home, I kind of have to do a good pulse check of how I'm feeling. Does that mean I need to sit and cook dinner in silence? Do I need to sit and read a book in silence? Or normally there's just a lot of silence for me in the evenings just because I'm kind of talking all day that you need time to not be doing that. And yeah, then I try to go to bed by 10:30 and then I do it all again the next day. So I don't know if I can give you a set day in the life, but
that's perfect right there.
Yeah.
So what are some of your favorite stories of being on mission so far on campus? Do you have any fun ones?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. I don't know if I could pick just one. I feel like I have so many fun memories that aren't necessarily just being on mission, but just ways that I'm like, there's no way I'm doing this on, like, all of my friends have corporate jobs, and I am here at like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday, like probably telling someone they're boring. Like, I don't know, probably just Father Enan because he's looking at me through the window. But I think that, yeah, I have so many. I think just the things I get to do with students randomly, or like going to the KK after going to candlelight.
Yeah. So we had a candlelight every Wednesday. We have our candlelight mass, and then usually people hang out in the lobby. But there was one time for Cairo, our Greek ministry, that we all went out to the bar. And just, it was awesome. Father Dave, Father Enan, Father Enan's friend, Father Max Carson was there.
Yeah.
And we completely St. Paul's all these people, as the great David Trafton said on the Vox Pauli previously, get yourself some friends that can, sit back, have a few beers, one night, and then the next day they'll be in the chapel at daily mass.
Yeah, which is awesome. But yeah, I have so many. I feel like I honestly embarrass myself a lot. If we're talking about Father Enan, I accidentally taught his niece to say "eat rocks" to him. He likes to bring that up. That was when I forgot there were little ears listening, and I told him to eat rocks, and she repeated me, which I said, "No more, Bernie." What other things have I done? I got pancreatitis at the farm.
Oh, that's right.
That was crazy bizarre. Yeah, but I think just in my time on mission, I've also had like awesome memories of like getting to talk about things like tell people about the prodigal son, where it's like, I've known that since I was younger and they've never heard this story. Or also just reflect on my faith. A lot of things I didn't even realize were important to me. But having those moments of talking through with other people, I'm like, wow, holy cannoli, that was important to me too. And I just didn't have the space to think about it and stuff like that. But there's so many memories. I'm sure, like I was telling you, I'm going to be going to sleep tonight and thinking of all the things I could have said. That's probably going to be one thing I'm like, I wish I told that story. I don't know. If you're listening to this, find me later and maybe I could tell you fun stories.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, as we wrap up, one question I meant to ask earlier in your testimony, but I think it'd be fitting to ask right now is, what kind of made you go all in on Jesus and the Catholic faith?
Oh, that's a good question. I always say, can I say a bad word? I'm just going to say one bad word, and I think that's fine. I always will say, like, you can't half-ass your faith. I think I related a lot. I think it's when I understood the familiarity to the Lord coming down in the human condition of, like, he came down to our human levels. He understands our human relationships, our human complexities, the way we communicate and stuff like that. And, like, really understood that in terms of, like, my friendships with people and the way I want to be cared for and loved and the way I love other people, where I'm like, wow, I can't half-ass my friendships. Like, I'm thinking with Gretchen and Maggie, who was my friend who I followed to Purdue, and, like, my friendships I've made there. And, like, especially now that I'm not physically with them and thinking about the ways that I am constantly needing to communicate with them, and, like, making them know that they're important to me. And also the way, like, they make me feel important, and then understanding the way that, like, through the way I communicate with the Lord, I'm making him feel important and stuff like that, and maintaining that relationship just as I feel that. So I think it was when I understood that, of, like, the way I feel loved and cared for by my friends and by my family, and the way that I'm also allowing the Lord to feel that through my faith in him and my ability to live out my life in accordance with him. Obviously, it's a little bit different because he is God and I'm, shocker, not. But yeah, I think once I kind of had that moment to, Sister Claire Crockett, servant of God Claire Crockett, who, if anyone has never heard of her, she's awesome, but she says go, like, all or nothing. Like, I'm not going to have one foot in, one foot out. that's not going to do anything. That's going to be super unfulfilling because then you're not getting fulfilled by either life you're living.
Right.
You're just going to be left wondering for more.
That's
so
right.
why not jump into something that promises eternity?
That's right. Amen.
Yeah.
Let's go all out.
Let's go all in. Don't have your faith.
All
if you're
in.
taking anything from this.
I
Sorry,
love it.
Kennedy, if you have to bleep.
You might have to rename it Pascal's Wager to Justine's Wager now. I mean, after that, might as well.
I'd feel so honored and special.
Well, Justine, thank you for coming on today and sharing all the fun stories. We love having around you here at St. Paul's, and it's an absolute blessing. So thank you.
Thank you, Andrew Hall. I feel like my life is made. I'm complete now. I'm well done.
Thank you, all you guys out there that listen to today's podcast. We hope you're having a wonderful Advent. And until next time, pox and Godspeed.